host here today for your next customer. And this is simply a format where we bring the actionable intel for those of us that are looking for more sales, better marketing, and of course that good old-fashioned customer service, right, that we still really crave so much on a day-to-day basis. And today we're really privileged to have another special guest, because every month we have a special guest, and this particular time we have our mayor, who was able to be interviewed by myself, took time out of her busy schedule to do so. And so I definitely want to get right to that interview, and then want to also reiterate what Brianna said, and that is, please, by all means, not just a suggestion, but let's call it a gentle encouragement. Please take a moment to put all of your contact information in the chat room. You know, we know that the networking, the real work really happens in between the events, right? Not at the event, but actually in between the events. So want to encourage each and every one of you all to do this. Councilwoman Burnett, thank you so very, very much for being here. Good morning to you. And thank you for all that you do for us as well. Also, definitely don't want to go any further. I'd be remiss if I didn't turn it over also to our awesome president and CEO, Mr. Paul Fry, to say good morning to each and every one of us. So Paul, good morning, sir.
Hey, good morning, Eddie. Welcome, everybody. And Eddie, you know, we're in our third year. You know, you've made it when you start to get celebrities and elected officials
That's
on
right.
the program. So not only interviewing, but listen in. So congratulations. We'll look forward to another great program this morning. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. And it's a great way to start the day. Eddie, take it away.
You bet. I'll get right to it. Good day, everyone, and thank you once again for joining us for your next customer. We are so privileged to be here today with you. We have a very special guest. Before I introduce her, I want to, as always, thank our awesome leadership at the Washington County Chamber of Commerce. Without you all, we couldn't be doing this. And then, of course, you as our audience, we couldn't do this without you also as well. You're viewing your next customer, and basically what we do is bring you the actionable intel for all of us small business and entrepreneurs interested in being able to grow and prosper within our sales, marketing, and of course, good old-fashioned customer service. And so in doing that, we bring to you many experts, those that are so very proficient and successful in their businesses, and that can bring us these tips and gold nuggets, if you will, to help us get from where we are to where we want to be. And with that, I'm so very privileged to be able to have today with us our mayor of Hagerstown, our newly elected of Hagerstown, Madam Mayor Emily Keller. Madam Mayor, how are you today?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you for making time to be here with us, and especially with such a busy schedule that you have had, coming right off a wonderful State of the City address also as well. I'm just hoping that all of our audience viewers got a chance to partake in that. Well over 150 participants, I think I saw on there last time I checked when I was counting, and so very, very well done. So kudos to you and your awesome fellow colleagues and council members as well. That was just a great job. You bet. Well, listen, I want to get right to the information, if you don't mind, because, you know, in talking about today's theme, we're talking about all of the positivity going from surviving, because that's exactly what we have done, but surviving to thriving. In our small business arena, because we all know that small business is big business, especially here in Hagerstown. And I wanted to make sure first that people heard a little bit more about our mayor, right? Because you yourself are a thriving business owner. You have been for many years right here in town, but you're also a local girl also as well. And so your heart is really in, and your passion is all throughout this. So tell us a little bit about you and what your roots are and how you went from there to where you are now.
Absolutely. Thank you. Yes, I was born and raised in Hagerstown. My parents still live in the same house that I grew up in. So awesome. I went to Emma K. Dowd, E. Russell Hicks, and South High. So I have been a South Ender pretty much my whole life. And I opened my business in the South End back about 7 years ago. So I had a really blessed opportunity. Farmers Insurance, which is, of course, a huge national brand, had just come to Maryland about 9 years ago, and they were actively looking to expand, and there was no Farmers Insurance in Washington County. So I was able to bring that national brand to Washington County, into my hometown. And May will be 7 years. So it's been an interesting journey. I had no business owner experience, although my parents are small business owners. So I saw what it took for them to thrive for several years in business now. And it's been a wild ride, but it's been worth it for sure. And being involved in the community has really helped. And I decided I wanted to run for office because I'm a little crazy. But so, but it's been good. Juggling both. It's definitely hard work, but it's very fulfilling.
Well, absolutely. And, when talking about that journey in being a small business owner, let's talk about that just a little bit, because not everybody decides they want to be a business owner. And I just am curious, when did you realize that you wanted to run your own as opposed to the traditional route of the American dream? You wanted to go to on another level, and not only your own business, but how did it gravitate to the insurance side, which is something that we all so desperately need on a regular basis?
Well, it's interesting. I actually started at State Farm. So a friend of mine had an agency that he was a new agent, and he was kind of competing to take over a book of business. And I was in sales previously, and he needed a salesperson. So I went to work for him, studied, got my insurance licenses, and I ended up loving it, which I know sounds weird because insurance, most people be like, why would you love something like that? But insurance and banking are really like the two industries left where you still have face-to-face. I mean, we do a lot of things online, but I still have people that come in my office, and especially in this area, there are people who still want to do business over a handshake. So I went to work and I learned insurance at State Farm. And then the agent that I was working for ended up not getting the contract that he was competing for. They gave it to another agent who had a lot more experience. And Farmers Insurance had actually approached the agent that I was working for, and he was going to open up a Farmers Insurance, and I was going to work for him. And after going through several months of training and things like that with Farmers, he decided that he no longer wanted to be in insurance at all. He's never done it again. He just decided that maybe this industry wasn't for him. So I reached out to the sales manager at Farmers and said, if he doesn't take this opportunity, I absolutely would like to. Wow. So I got very lucky. It kind of fell into my lap, and I was able to take that opportunity and run with it.
Well, you say it kind of fell into your lap, and some others might say coincidentally, but I was taught a long time ago that coincidences happen when God chooses to remain anonymous. So, you never know sometimes where it's going to come from as far as your blessings, right? Because you were in the right place at the right time. But Another point to that is that you were preparing and then ended up being prepared for that opportunity when it happened. And I think that's an important point to make also, as well, as we segue and talk about from surviving to thriving. There's oftentimes a lot of opportunity in the midst of chaos. And a lot of times we don't know exactly how to look for it, because we can get caught up in the doom and gloom, if you will. And let's just face it, listen, we went through a lot, and we're still reeling to a degree from the pandemic, and still adjusting and so forth. But could you talk a little bit towards just that in and of itself, the preparation necessary to be able to move forward, and some of the things that you prepared yourself to do, and the kind of vision that you have for the city in doing that also as well?
I think it's important to have mentors and surround yourself with people who do know what they're doing. I had never used QuickBooks before. I had never really had to do accounting and things like that before, which you have to do when you open a business. So you have to reach out to the subject matter experts, and really, we can't be an expert at everything. I understand insurance inside and out, but running a business, I don't. Now I'm getting okay at it, I like to think. But, first opening, it's kind of trial by fire. But I think making sure you surround yourself with people who do know what they're doing and are willing to coach you and support you, and finding team members who are supportive of you. You know, Star has been with me almost 6 years now, and I wouldn't have a business if I didn't have the partnership that I have with her. And I think it's important to surround yourself with people who understand your vision and support you in your vision. And I think we've really seen that, especially in the city of Hagerstown over 2020. Unfortunately, we did have some businesses closing, but we also had a lot of businesses opening and thriving in the middle of a pandemic. And I think they did exactly that, reached out for help, whether it be with our economic development department, took advantage of incentives that were out there. And I think we all got really creative on how to survive and thrive. You know, look at the Washington County takeout page on Facebook that really helped save a lot of restaurants throughout 2020. Something that simple, but restaurants who had never used social media before really thrived because of that. So I think it's all about adapting and being creative and trying to find what you're good at and how to promote that. What you said about the negativity is so true. You know, you have one bad experience somewhere and we tell so many people, but we don't talk about the good experiences that we have. So I think trying to get people to promote those positive experiences is what really helps businesses thrive.
You know, that's one of the things that I really took notice of when you were talking during your state of the city, and you mentioned about the bad experiences that are minimal, but if you thought about how you hear about them, you would think that's all that was happening, as opposed to all of the many, many positive things that are going on also as well, all throughout that year of challenge. You know, the public coming together as consumers, if you will. We've never seen anything like that before because we had never experienced a pandemic before. So it was really heartwarming to watch and see consumers just simply refuse to let everything just crumble, if you will. And as long as the weather allowed to a degree and cooperated, then we just moved it into the streets, right? It was just, we just brought inside, we just really turned it inside out and brought it outside and put our money where our mouths were. Absolutely. And really helped in as many, many corners as we possibly could. And something else that you just mentioned as well is that we certainly can't be experts in everything. And you talked about surrounding ourselves with coaches and mentors. And that was another thing that I really wanted to talk about briefly here this morning. And that had to do with retaining our local teachers, our mentors. And, you know, it's been said that, of course, every good team has a good coach. And of course, every great team has a great coach, but they tend to keep those coaches also as well so that they can continue to pass that information on, and it becomes a culture, if you will. And so when you look at it from that perspective as well, Madam Mayor, what do you see as something that the city can do, or even that we can do as the team, to be able to incentivize some of the young minds that are out here, these young entrepreneurs? I see so many different things that I'm reading throughout the high schools, you know, all in the STEM programs and so forth. There's a lot of talent here. And what do we do to be able to encourage those young folks to stay right here, because we need them?
Yes, we do. You know, it's all about quality of life and providing opportunity. And the city has been very good at expanding the education opportunities here locally. We have the university system downtown. We have Barbara Ingram School for the Arts. And we as a city are trying desperately to make sure that we are bringing in high paying jobs, because the biggest issue we have is we do have an incredible amount of talent here, and they leave and go over the mountains to make more money. And if we don't have amenities that people want to be here for, if we don't have high paying jobs, if we don't have good quality of life neighborhoods, then people are going to leave. So something we are actively working on within the city is, one, incentives for businesses to be here. That's very important. Another thing is blight removal in our neighborhoods. Everyone wants to live in a neighborhood that, one, is beautiful, but two, is safe. And if we don't provide beautiful, safe neighborhoods, people are going to go elsewhere where they have them. So we have been really working on taking some of these tax sale properties that we see that are just blighted and really a risk to the community, and either knocking them down or getting them in working order and get them back on the tax roll so they're not a burden on the community. And then, like I said before, opportunity. We have to expand our education system. We have to make sure that if we're bringing high paying jobs, that we have people to fill the positions so the businesses stay here. So there is a lot of work going on to improve our neighborhoods and improve our quality of life. And I'm confident that we're there and we're going to continue to improve.
You bet. Absolutely. And I want to kind of circle back a little bit, as you were coming through and coming into your own as a business owner, certainly you faced a lot of different challenges. And I'm talking about pre-COVID now, because I'd like to make the comparison, right? I think it'll be a very interesting one. What would you consider if you had to just put your finger on one of the number one challenge that you had pre-COVID as you were growing your business and really trying to get momentum going and so forth during this past 7 years, and then now to where we are on the other side?
So I think for me, it would be differentiating ourselves from our competition. Insurance is a very competitive market. Mm-hmm. And now with all the, 1-800-GEICO and the e websites that you can go on and get a quote and compare to different carriers. You have to really sell your brand and sell your value. And farmers, we may not always be the cheapest, but when it comes to insurance, we want to be the best and make sure you have the best coverage. We deal with people who are having the worst day of their lives, genuinely speaking, car accidents, house fires, things like that. And the last thing you want to worry about in a situation like that is your coverage. So we had to really figure out how to differentiate ourselves to make people say, we're selling you a product to protect you, not to be the cheapest. And yes. In competitive markets like this, you have to offer something different. You have to really stand out. So whether it be from the best customer service or whatever that looks like, that was interesting to navigate at first, to find out, who we are and what is our brand other than just being Farmers Insurance.
Absolutely. And that whatever that looks like, oftentimes you want it to be an extension of you, right? That customer service, you want it to look like you. As a matter of fact, as you being the face of that particular product, even if they can't remember the name of the product, they can look at you and say, that's who I need to speak with. You talked about banking and insurance being two of the industries left that really thrive on face-to-face, building those relationships. I like to say making house calls, right? Yes. One of those old school type of businesses in that sense, because I really appreciate that doing that as well. I have found that post-COVID, because I'm that way and you obviously are as well, that is something that was kind of taken away, right? Nobody's fault. We had to do it along those lines, and we still have to do it to a degree now. I mean, look at what we're doing right now in terms of using the modern technology. That certainly has hurt folks to a degree, especially, and that's industry-wide. We were talking about the insurance industry, but across the board. Did that affect you the same way as what I'm describing? And what do you see just professionally now in as a business owner? What do you see going around the corner as we're looking at light at the end of the tunnel?
Yeah, I think it's definitely been all about adapting over the last year and a half. With our industry, I'd say it affected us some. We did still do appointment only. People could come in. We had to make sure they were masked, social distance, and that kind of thing. So we were still able to have that interaction. I think moving forward, it's going to be all about comfort level, because I know some people are just ready to be back out in public, ready to shake hands, ready to not have a mask on. And then there are other people who are a little more cautious. So we're going to have to adapt to each person's level of comfort, for sure. I think people are ready to bring back the crowds, but they're going to have to make a decision whether that's right for them or not. And so I think it'll be interesting moving forward. I think it's going to be a slow start, even if tomorrow we're all vaccinated and they say, okay, business is normal, 100% back to normal. I think it's still going to take several months, maybe even several years to get back to what our old normal looked like.
And with that is going to come being respectful and responsible. All at the same time, like you said, to make sure that people are comfortable all the way around. I love that word that you said, differentiation, in making sure that you kind of stand out. But we always want to stand out in the right way. when it comes to getting our customers. And because at the end of the day, at the beginning of the day, and always somewhere in between, we always are looking for your next customer, right? And we want them to have not just a good visit, but a good experience these days. So with that, these are some absolutely great points. And I know we're going to be engaging our audience and getting them involved here in a little bit also as well. But I did want to ask you on, as we kind of wrap up, what are some of the things you would ask if you could ask each and every one of us, if the interview was the other way around, and you could ask each and every one of us that is so thankful to you and to your team for stepping up to say, I'll go, we'll lead and take us to the next level. What would you ask of us as the general public, as the fellow small business owners and so forth? What would you ask of us to be able to go and help you to get to the next level?
I would ask everyone to just continue to support local and rally behind our small businesses the way that we have over the last year and a half. It's just so important. And what I fear may happen is once things go back to normal a little bit, people kind of go retreat and start using Amazon more and forget about, making sure you're supporting our local restaurants and things. It's going to be a long road ahead. So I would ask that people maintain that passion of helping each other in our community and helping our businesses, and don't let that fade. Because I think that's been the most beautiful thing to see over the last year was how we did rally behind each other. And I would ask to not let that fade.
Absolutely. You bet. Well, that's a great way to look at it also as well. It only took one thing, and one thing that no one could see coming, and yet it happened, and it really turned things upside down for a while. I mean, we're talking to a point of being scary. A lot of households that were affected in a horrific way. We lost a lot of our family members and friends and so forth. But those of us that are here are passionate. We're ready to roll up our sleeves along with you. I know that you all, and something I think a point that needs to be made. We were talking about this prior to us coming on to the interview, and that is, especially at the State of the City, you mentioned, these workers have been going on right around the clock behind the scenes. Please talk to that a little bit. I think that's very important for everyone to hear also as well, what your team has been doing that no one has a face on necessarily.
The City of Hagerstown staff, I tell you, it has been one of the most incredible parts of being on the city council and now being mayor, to see how many people work so hard for the city every single day to make sure that we have police and fire and clean parks, and that when we turn our lights on, the lights come on, and we turn our water on, the water comes on. There's just so much that goes into running this municipality. And throughout 2020, they did it day in and day out. It was like nothing changed other than having to take extra precautions. So here are these people that work hard every single day, had to continue working hard every single day, but had to do it with precautions, to be distanced, to take your temperatures, to make sure you're wearing PPE, and make sure if you're riding in a car together, you have masks on at all times. And they did it so willingly and without hazard pay and without, really any incentive other than to helping the city operate. And it was truly beautiful to watch. And they don't get enough credit for what they do every single day. I mean, people, we're really, really blessed to have the staff that we have in the city, and to have the police officers that we do, and the firefighters we do, and the people that work in our water, wastewater departments and our parks and engineering departments. I mean, we're incredibly blessed.
You bet. Well, I want to add one of those things that I wish that I could say to everyone that could possibly help. Heroes and sheroes don't always have faces, and they're not always in uniform. You don't necessarily know, and they don't carry signs, right? But when they do, when they are in uniform, and you do see them going about their day-to-day operation and what have you, just say thank you. I know I've heard that many a time from them when I speak with our men and women in uniform, our police officers, certainly our firefighters as well, our EMS, all of these folks, because like you said, they had to take all those precautions at work, but then they still had to go home too. right? These were the ones that were undressing in the garage and so forth. They were doing these kind of things to help protect their families and so forth, because they had families to take care of, just like all of us here as well. So when you get that opportunity any given time, holler across the street when you see them across the parking lot or whatever, and just simply say thank you. I think that would go a long way as well.
Absolutely.
Madam Mayor,
Absolutely.
thank you so very, very much for all that you do. And before you go, could you please let all of us know how we can best get in contact with you or your office to be able to keep in touch with you and you with us?
Absolutely. My email address is ekeller@hagerstownmd.org. My cell phone number is public. Anyone can call me or text me at any time. It's 301-991-6773. And I try to update all of my social medias, Facebook, Instagram. It's Mayor Emily Keller, to try to let everyone know what's going on in the city and what events are coming up, because we're going to start having events soon, which is so exciting.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
just different projects that are being worked on. So if anyone ever has any suggestions, problems, complaints, ideas, I'm always accessible. You can reach me. Email is probably best, or just call is fine too.
You bet. Well, can't wait to be able to work with you to build it big and build it right, and make a real statement here in the region for everyone to be proud of. So again, thanks so much to you and your awesome colleagues for all that you do. Stay safe, stay blessed. And to all of you also as well with us here at Your Next Customer, we thank you so very, very much. Of course, our staff at your Washington County Chamber of Commerce, thanks for all that you do. We'll see you next time. God bless. Stay well. Bye-bye. All right. All right. Good stuff. I sure hope everybody heard that and the quality was okay on the audio and so forth. Everybody was good to go. That was great. I had a lot of fun talking with Emily. That was just really a great time. And she made such great points. I noticed some of you all were doing the same as me. And even though I did the interview and I was still taking some notes on some things that she had talked about, I want to get right to this. And I'm just going to go right ahead and talk to my friend Carmen, because basically, one of the things that she said, I thought that really kind of set the tone, was that she mentioned when coming into her industry and finding herself there as a professional, she said insurance and banking. If you remember, Carmen, she said those are two of the remaining face-to-face, if you will, in that sense. And of course, all of that got affected immediately, like overnight. Of course, everything did across the board, but you all certainly did. And that's just one of the most common things we can think of during the day, is like, oh, I got to run to the bank, right, during the course of the day. And all of those things were taken away. Get us started here today, Carmen. How did that affect even just you professionally? Because you're a big people person. I've known that ever since the first time I met you. How did that affect you, even personally and professionally, and overall in your with your colleagues and so forth?
Absolutely. Thank you, Eddie. Yes. Banking is very face to face, and yes, it's maybe less and less with today's technology of direct deposit and things like that. But we still have lots of people that like to come into the bank. And, certainly I like to hug people and say hello and fist bump and all the fun things that, kind of adapting to what people like to do. So we did close our doors here at Ameriserve Bank and had drive up only for a while. And then we reopened, and then we actually had closed again, but we are finally reopened again. So it really does affect your staff. It affects yourself. It even affects the customers. They would come through the drive-through and they would want to know, when are you going to open your doors again? So even though they knew the pandemic was amongst us, they wanted to be able to come in and talk. And there's just something about being able to, ask about their dog and ask about their kids and how's their jobs going. And so it affected me greatly, because I am very much a people person, but I tried to remain positive and kind of, as Emily said, I tried to keep the passion and check in with my staff and, how are you doing through this? What did you learn from this? We would talk a lot, do things like that. We tried to keep some normalcy here of, having fun fact Fridays when a couple of us were in, things like that. So it's very much affected the customer service industry, but we try to do the best they can. I had a customer come in yesterday and he was an older guy and he wanted to fist bump. So I was like, absolutely, so we hope to get back to some sort of normalcy safely. The customers wear their masks and we wear our masks. So
Absolutely. And I think it shows us how what we take for granted they become the little things, and then all of a sudden they're taken away from you, and how big they become, like overnight, right?
Yeah.
Simply because you can't do that anymore, and you realize just how important it was in your day-to-day life. I think we just kind of did it almost without thinking. It was just those habits, right? And Emily also talked about, among so many awesome things, about the team and being able to work tirelessly together to make things happen. And I absolutely want to make sure that I go to our awesome council member, Tiara Burnett. Good morning once again. Thanks so much for being with us, and wanted to talk to you a little bit about the team aspect and just everything that you know of from the inside out, working together so hard to take us to the next level as we get ready to turn the corner.
Good morning. Yeah, I'm glad Emily brought up the staff. That's one thing I
Yes.
didn't know with taking this role. I mean, I knew the city, how it operated, but I didn't know that the staff members knew their job and they knew what each role was. And like she said, the city pretty much runs itself. As far as mayor council, with being a newbie, they have been just welcoming me in with giving me all the background information. Even Councilmember McIntyre, she will during council sessions write down the acronyms for us, for Takesha and I, because they throw out these terms all the time, and I'm like, wait, what is that? What is that? What is that? So I'll just look over at Shelly, and she'll show up the piece of paper what it is. So it's just small stuff like that has been really, really helpful with getting accustomed to how things work, and also helps to realize the gaps that I've been seeing. But in due time, I'll be able to address some things. But right now, I'm just taking it all in, and everybody has just been dumping as much information into my head as possible.
Absolutely. And when talking about obviously you're getting a lot of help, a lot of mentors, a lot of coaching also, as well as you continue to get better. What are some of the things that you're hearing from the public at large that are maybe some of the concerns or accolades, you name it, just any and all of what you've been hearing up to now, but especially the most positive that you're hearing that really kind of gets you up early, keeps you up late, right? That kind of thing that really keeps you going.
Well, it's this pandemic. A lot of emails about people just not being able to pay their rent, not being able to pay, their utilities. That's just really disheartening to see. I mean, I know that, but when you see these emails back to back to back, and they're asking for help and asking for resources, my first go-to is to mention the CAC. Gordon Newman and his team has been really great with providing those resources, and also Councilmember Shelly McIntyre and Takesha Martinez and I are working on a project called It Takes a Village. And we're going to be asking for help for our small businesses to use portions of sales to go towards helping with utilities. We're still in the process of working out the details, but it's going to be really helpful for the community at large. So and Mayor Keller mentioned, the community coming together in this pandemic. That Facebook page she mentioned, there was restaurants that I've never even heard of, and I've been here all my life. And I'm like, wait, let me go check that out. Bagelicious, that place is awesome. They didn't have a Facebook page. And then someone was like, hey, they're possibly going out of business. Let's support them. And we went there every week. I probably gained about 10 pounds from all those carbs, but that's fine. And he was just so grateful. I spoke with him, the owner. He was just so grateful that people were just literally lined out the door. He's never seen that before, ever. Just that's a small example of just the community coming together. That's one of the huge positive endpoints that this city has done for everybody.
Absolutely. And of course, got to keep that passion going. As Emily said, if there was one thing, don't lose that, right? So in other words, we can't take our foot off the gas and think that everything is just kind of okay just because things open right back up. Again, it doesn't mean that a lot of businesses aren't still trying to get back to square zero, let alone get back into profit mode, right? So there's a lot of us here in the Zoom room today. I want to just ask you, please go right ahead. Unless you have a lot of background noise, of course, go ahead and unmute yourselves and any and all of the different thoughts that you had that really jumped out at you. There are many, but I really want to make this all inclusive today, especially because of not only our guest, Mayor Keller, but I say we have two guests because we also have Councilwoman Tiara Burnett also as well here. So what a treat. What are some of the thoughts that you all have, because you're business owners, many of you also as well. I can't imagine, every type of industry is represented here, everything from entertainment, nonprofits, also as well, individual sole proprietorship. What are some of the main concerns you all have? And then also at the same time, if you have a concern, I also want you to bring something positive to the table also as well, that you're seeing, that you're really excited about. And I just wanted to go ahead and let you open up and chime right on in.
Mr. Peters, if I may.
Good day, Mr. Worthy.
First and foremost, I want to thank you for inviting me to participate.
You bet.
I have a lot of takeaways from what I just witnessed with your mayor. I do want to add a couple things, if I may. In this pandemic, racial unrest and economic stress, I made a decision in my businesses, and that was not to see the glass half empty or half full, but to see it overflowing with opportunity. And because I switched my mindset, my business grew. Then I understood that there were some challenges that other industries were having. And so I recognized pretty quickly I needed to continue to come from a position of contribution. You know, I've always been a firm believer, given it shall be given to you. And because I practiced that pre-pandemic and in the current space that we find ourselves in, that not only am I growing my business, I'm helping other people grow their business by coming from a position of contribution. The other thing that I want to share with all of you is that, you know, having to pivot in the midst of this pandemic has been incredibly positive when we look at what we currently do and begin to focus on an area that fits in the space that we find ourselves in. Has been absolutely incredible, that we already have what we need to be successful. We just have to pay attention and be a little more laser focused in terms of what we can contribute. But I love the fact that we can come from a position of contribution. And lastly, and I'll hand it back to you, I've always been a believer that to be relational, not transactional. And what I mean by that is people are interested. We need to come across to individuals not being interesting, but being interested. Not being interesting, but being interested, and that we're listening very carefully to what their needs are. So if we can't deliver the need, perhaps someone on this call can. And so if I pay very close attention to that, that provides great value for those who are looking to find ways to move outside of the challenges that they're facing. So again, thank you so much for this opportunity. I really enjoyed it.
Absolutely. Great input. I really appreciate that. And, you know, when you talked about already having what we need to be able to be successful, you know, that kind of struck a chord with me, because it just reminded me that if we can do what we were able to rally together to do in the face of, call it a disaster, pandemic, whatever you want to call it, and really able to rescue each other when it came right down to it, because at that point we weren't supporting businesses, we were supporting people, right? That's really what it came down to, and the relationships that mattered so very, very much to us. It's got to be something that we can remember going forward. If we can do that in times of challenge, we've got to be able to do it in times of plenty, if you will, right? When things are the other way around. But that's when we can absolutely fall into a trap of it just happening, and we don't have to really worry about that. It took this to a degree for us to come together in that manner, because we'd never had to do it that way before. Now, we were able to shine, don't get me wrong, but let's remember going forward that that could happen again in some other kind of way, right? Isn't that a lesson that I think we should all take from this, and that it could happen in a different way, and we could go through those type of challenges. Hallie, I want to move over to you, if I may, because my friend, we saw and knew each other, I want to say, my goodness, I don't know where 3 years went that quick when we first met each other, right? And you're of course a business owner yourself, And this was all, of course, pre-COVID, and yet you still know what challenges are when it comes to running a business. And here we are, thank goodness, able to, even post-COVID, turn back around and look back up and going up into the right again. Some businesses don't get that opportunity the second time around. So I know you're very grateful for that. Talk to us a little bit about just overall in terms of challenges and what you see now going forward as a business owner.
Well, in my business, we are a local towing and recovery company. The challenges were I went from 7 employees to 2, and our volume dropped, of course, because no one is traveling. Everybody's on lockdown, and no one was going anywhere. And one of the greatest assistances was the Washington County grant. I cannot thank our county enough for helping us stay alive. Even with my 3 employees from 7, you know, those boys are truly my family. They know what it means. They're appreciative. I let them know every day as a business owner that without you and your dedication, I would have closed my doors last March. But they were all in no matter what it took. I currently just have the 2 drivers, and they're phenomenal. We are a 24/7, 365 business. There are no days off. I do try to give my drivers each a day off, but unfortunately, if it gets too busy, which we're kind of loving that part with spring, they jump right in and help the other one out. Even though it's their day, they realize that we are a small business. And I am one that firmly believes in without them, I would not be where I'm at. I am a business that most of you kind of call when it's needed. You don't like to make that phone call, but we like to be there to help. You know, contrary to popular belief, most tow companies do have a bad rap, but we come from a caring and loving standpoint that we want to help you. You know, we're going to try to do whatever we can to make it easy, especially now. A lot of their providers, when they would schedule the call, would tell them, you can't ride with. And I'm like, no, they can. Please have a mask. And if they don't, my drivers have a stack of them in the truck. You know, I keep everything in there because that's just not something you can say no. You're on the side of a busy interstate with your infant child and your car broke down, and we're coming to get you and your child. Your car's secondary. We want to make sure that you're safe. So just making sure we take care of all of those that need our help, our employees, our customers. You just got to keep doing what you're doing and dig in and don't give up.
Absolutely. In some industries, you don't always put customer service first and attach it to that particular industry, right? You mentioned a lot of times in your industry, they have a bad rep. And so obviously customer service and a good bedside manner is not necessarily going to be something that's first and foremost, but you just described it as that's something that you all do every day. And I remember that was one of the things that you told, one of the first things you told me about when we sat down in your office, and I could tell how prideful you were of that, because that's really where the conversation grew from in terms of you and you considering all of your employees to be your family also as well. Listen, I want to give an opportunity once again for those of you that had chimed in a little bit later as we were initially talking. I want to remind you to please put your contact information for each and every one of you and your industry, the company that you represent. Please make sure you put that in the chat, okay? Because we want to make sure that we make that available. And Brianna, can you tell us again how, for those of us that may not know, how to save that information also as well when we get ready to leave, so you can have a record of everybody here on today's call?
Yeah, so if you look at the chat box down in the bottom right corner, there's an ellipses button. If you click that, the first option that comes up is save chat, and that should just save to your computer.
Outstanding. There we go. Because we were saying initially before, all of the networking, this is both coaching and networking as far as this session. And we know all the networking, the real work part, it happens in between these sessions, not at the session, right? And that's where we really want to give you and encourage you all the opportunity to grow and grow all of these different relationships also as well. I'm going to keep on going right on around the Hollywood Square Zoom room, because I see others that have been on before, but maybe also some that have been on for the very first time. I want to reach out to my friend Randy. Let's see, I just saw you. And Randy, did I just lose you? No, I see you right there. Randy, it's just your a picture. Randy, can you still hear me? And that's okay. If not, y'all get ready, because I'm just going to call on somebody else. Since y'all didn't unmute, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. And I can tell right now that he really wants to talk. I can just tell he's chomping at the bit. Mr. Roberts.
Hi, good morning.
Hey, good morning, sir. Listen, tell us a little bit about what you've been experiencing, and certainly any comments you have from what Mayor Keller has been sharing with us, Councilwoman Brunette also as well, and the other our guests as well.
Yeah, so the one thing that Mayor Keller said that stood out to me is that people want to leave. And I'll be the first to say that, I was one of them. I just recently graduated from Bowie State University at Bowie, Maryland. And, I didn't really have any plans to come back after school. I was thinking there's a lot more job opportunities in the DMV area rather than Hagerstown. But I started a business in 2019 while I was still in school doing digital marketing and building websites. So I saw more of a opportunity to come back. There's been a lot of small businesses that had to pivot to a more digital strategy. Maybe they have an outdated website, or they don't really understand how to use social media for their business. So, I saw that as a need in 2019. That's why, I started my business. And now I think more than ever, there might be some businesses in Hagerstown that might need my services, or, now that we're digital, I could really provide my services anywhere, but, I still want to give back to my community in some way, shape, or form. And I think that, that might be my way to kind of provide that. And, I want to also thank the chamber, because I remember coming back and meeting with Paul. He was very friendly and open arms. So that was also part of the reasons why, I'm here today, and, I'm trying to participate more in this small business community. So yeah.
Yeah, outstanding. And thank you so much for joining us here. You and I have been missing each other for a minute. I was so excited to see you chime in and join us here this morning. And you talked about you were one of them. Just full disclosure. Did you all hear that? Sean said I was one of them that was out of here. And so we wouldn't have even known what we didn't know had you taken your talent elsewhere. But you're here in the community. You certainly couldn't have seen, like anyone else couldn't see, a 2020 coming right around the corner. Do you see it now that we're in 2021? Do you see it now as an opportunity even more than before to help businesses, because they're going to be coming out of this? And there was that word Emily said as well, Mayor Keller said, differentiation. And I know that when it comes to marketing, that's one of the tools, right? One of the resources we use, Mr. Roberts, to help differentiate ourselves, right? And stand out for the right thing. Do you see an opportunity there for yourself? And if so, how so?
Yeah, 100%. I see a huge opportunity. Like you said, businesses want to differentiate themselves. And I know there's, during this time, people had a lot of time to think, reassess their business, try to figure out, how can I stay in business and what can I do differently? And I know, technology should be at the top of everybody's minds. I studied IT in school, so I have that background, and just understanding where the world is going, and that technology is so heavily involved with everything we do. Marketing and digital marketing, I think is sometimes at the top of people's mind. We're all on social media in some regards, whether it's for personal use or business use. So just trying to see how people could apply certain strategies to their business. I'm more than happy to help. The reason I started my business was because I like helping people. That was like the conclusion I came to, was like, all right, I like helping people. What can I do? So I saw marketing as a way to, one, help businesses, grow and reach their goals, but also two, an opportunity for me to start a business and maybe grow to the point where I can employ people and start to build a team and offer more services.
Outstanding. And then if you're going to like helping people anyway, I'm going to take it a step further. You also said, well, why not help my friends and neighbors right here as I walk out my front door, right to the right, left, front, and back of me, and start right here and maybe be able to grow further. That's outstanding. I appreciate you. Thank you. And Randy, I keep trying to catch you. I don't know. I saw you jump back on again, and then I've lost you again here. I don't see you, so I'll come back to you also as well. Now, I'll call on you. I will, Mary Ellen. I will. Just absolutely go right ahead and call on you. Good morning, my friend. Talk to me about, and talk to us about, one of the takeaways, just one of many, that you got from our Madam Mayor.
So thank you, Eddie. It's always a pleasure to be here and to learn with all of you. I appreciated the thoughts, Mr. Worthy, that you shared earlier. I couldn't agree with you more that it's always looking at that glass to overflowing, for sure.
Mhm.
The one thing that I think Mayor Keller said that's always important is to share those positive experiences that you have. Very often we don't all do that, right? So if you have a good positive experience with a downtown business or a restaurant or something like that, always making sure you tell people about that experience and promote local business and things like that. So that's my one takeaway, Eddie. Thank you.
Outstanding. Thank you. And always a pleasure to have you as well. And Miss Tony Bowie, I'm coming that direction. I definitely am. See, she had to get up a little earlier because she came all the way from Frederick, y'all. So, we had to absolutely want to say good morning to you. Thanks for being here.
Good morning. Thank you. Thank you for having me here. This is my second time with you all. It won't be the last. Every time I come, it's just more and more great information.
Thank you.
I tell you, I've enjoyed learning more about just the city of Hagerstown all the way around, and then being able to hear from your mayor say several things. So I can't just pick out any one.
Mhm.
And then what everyone else has said, I think, is so good too. I will say this. And I'm going to do that I thing for a moment. I'm going to do that I thing. And I have to say that I am so, so grateful for where my business has been able to go during this really, really tough time. And I understand how so many have just struggled.
Mhm.
It was, I'm in the training and coaching industry. And so right after COVID hit, we even saw, things just stop. If our clients were closing their doors, that meant they were closing their training as well. And then the horrible, horrible, horrible act that we saw with Mr. George Floyd occurred, and businesses and people just started really looking at diversity, inclusion, equity, race, and racism a little more broad. And that literally saved us in so many ways. So because and you got to take something that was so horrendous
Mhm.
and still be able to see something that came from it. And I can just say, I also just hope that we continue to want to learn more. We've got so much we've come a long way, but we've got a long way to go. And just keep going forward. Just keep going forward. So thank you, Eddie. Thank you for
Absolutely.
what you do here.
Well, thank you. I so appreciate it. I know everyone appreciates those words. And yeah, sometimes it takes just horrific things to happen all the way around but it doesn't mean it doesn't give us an opportunity to shine on the other side. Is how do we react to it, right? The event has happened. Now what? What do we do? How do we respond as individuals, as a community, coming together one way or another? And you're absolutely right there. So I don't know that we could possibly end on a more positive note than the way you just did that for us, Tony. And I want to share with everyone once again, if you haven't already done so, please make sure once again that your information is in the chat. By all means, we want to make sure that everyone has the opportunity to connect with each other beyond this event. I do want to let you know, of course, this is a monthly event. All of the new faces that are here that have joined us today, thank you so very, very much for being here. If we keep seeing the same faces, as much as we appreciate it, that doesn't necessarily mean that we're growing. And today, Paul, we're growing. As you can see, I know you see the same as what I do with all of the new faces that we have, some coming back, right, Hallie, and coming back home. Welcome back home, and all of those of you who have already been here as well. Listen, make sure that you look in the chat, because Mr. Chuck Motti has an event coming up also on Saturday for some grown folks comedy.
Yes, sir.
And so he's got that information. Chuck, can you tell us real quick before we go?
Yes, this Saturday at the Baymont by Wyndham in Hagerstown, 431 Dole Highway. I'm bringing a Love and Laugh comedy tour back. I have the headliner, Timmy Hall. He's been on Comic View, Def Comedy Jam. He's actually a Baltimore City cop, you know what I'm saying? And he's actually a comedian. He's hilarious. I have Lonnie Davis, over 20 years of experience. And then I have Ray Diva. Always, every show I do, I always try to make sure I feature at least one woman comic, because, you know, they get looked over. But hey, Ray Diva's gonna come and bring the thunder. I'm your host. I'm also the promoter. Just to let y'all know, I just opened SMU Media, South Potomac Street, 240 South Potomac Street. I have a production team out of Philadelphia that's real thorough. So I will be offering online commercials, 30 seconds, a minute, packages where where my promotions, I'm always out promoting my shows. So, you know, we'll get together. Like I said, I'm gonna come down to the Commerce and talk to y'all, and then, you know, we'll start off light and then grow with it. You know what I'm saying? Anything entertainment, you know, just think about SMU Entertainment. If you want to check out my website, it's www.smuent.com. You know what I'm saying? We are definitely official, and hopefully y'all can come out Saturday. The doors open at 8, show starts at 9. You can buy the tickets on Eventbrite. Just look up SMU Entertainment, and hopefully I'll see y'all Saturday. Thank you for the invite, Eddie.
Oh, you bet, sir. Thanks for being here. And that takes us right to the top of the hour. Paul, did you have anything that you wanted to share with us also before we let each other get back to our busy days?
Well, thank you, Eddie, and thank you all for joining us. What I would say is, for my restaurant days when I was in college, I worked for a guy, Alan Dahl, that he said, you know, Paul, restaurants never close the doors. They got to figure out a way to stay open. So I'm so thrilled to hear about how some of us have thrived and how some of us are looking for new ways to keep our doors open. And to quote Peter Drucker, adapt or die. So I'm glad we're adapting. I'm glad we're thriving. And thank you all for your work you're doing. We look forward to seeing you soon.
Absolutely. You bet. Miss Brianna, anything you want to leave us with also as well before we go?
Thanks everyone for coming. I do have the chat saved and also
Awesome.
the whole event recorded. So that will be on YouTube if you guys want to take a look at it sometime later.
Outstanding. You got it. Well, thanks again, each and every one of you. Just keep in mind always that small business is big business. Councilwoman Burnett, thanks again for taking time out of the day for your awesome perspective. And I hope this won't be the last time we see you as well. And we've got to let all of the other fellow council members as well to come in, chime in with us and hang out, because we're having a good time and we're getting some great information back and forth between each other. Okay.
Thank you. Yeah, this was great.
Awesome. Well, thank you so very, very much. Listen, everyone have a blessed and productive day. And just keep in mind, we want to continue to stay safe, but stay healthy, stay wealthy, and we'll see you next time around. God bless everyone. See you next month.
Thank you, Eddie.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Great job.
Thank you.